What's good, my people? It's Theory 1 from Dream, Create, Inspire. Today I'm going to teach you the basics of After Effects. So the first thing is when you get the Adobe Creative Cloud, you're going to want to install the After Effects engine or software. And now there's two places in the Adobe Creative Cloud that you can select it to enter it, the software. That's on the right bar on the side that will have all the downloaded apps there. And then I would also recommend downloading the After Effects beta, which allows some other features that are in testing phases and beta phases for the actual software itself. And then as you open the software, you have a bunch of recent files when you create them. We're going to go to the top left and hit that blue button for new project, and you're going to want to start a new composition. And that composition holds all the layers or the video files and photo files, music files, pretty much any file for the composition or the movie. And you can go ahead and title this. And then there's a couple advanced settings. We're not going to mess with these today. But what you're really going to want to focus on is the presets. And if you look, they have everything you need in After Effects. They have the social media templates, they have the 4K, the 2K, even the 6K and 8K. It's really beautiful, and even film ones. Along with that, as you'll see, there is a whole array of effects that you can do that are stock in the software. And then right here is the duration. I like to keep it a longer, 5 minutes or more, just so if I have longer clips, I don't have to worry about the length of them. What's good, my people? It's Theory 1. Now I'm going to show you another basic. After you have the video file and the composition created, you're going to want to import the files into the software. So you can do this in the right, where I just right-clicked and import files, or the easiest way I like to do it personally is find the folder, and you can just drag and drop it into the timeline as such right here. And now you'll see that the composition is the wrong size. It's 720 when you need it to be the composition size of 4K. So the way to change this is right-click, go to Transform, and then fit the composition. Now if you're a nerd like me and you want to maximize your workflow speed, I'm going to teach you some hotkeys for it as well. So you Control-Z to back last move, and then Control-Alt and F at the same time for frame will make it the size of the composition, or the size of the composition frame. So the next phase is to find a part of the clip that you would like to use for the video you are creating. As you can see, I am doing as such, sifting through the video to find where I want to cut it. And once you found that, the cut tool is actually the cut hotkey is Control Shift and then D as in dog. Why it's complex like that, I don't know, and not just C. And then as you can see, it makes a staircase every time you cut a layer. So when you do this, simply again find where the end of the clip is and Control Shift D again to make the staircase, and then delete the file that you don't want, or the layer that you don't want, by simply hitting the delete button. And now that you have the clip, I'm going to teach you something pretty cool with workflow speed capacity, and that is by hitting the home button, it'll bring you to the beginning of the timeline. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is just hit the left bracket next to P as in Peter on the keyboard, and that's going to bring me to wherever on the timeline my meter is. And that's very beneficial for lining up clips, merging clips, doing transitional effects, and such when you're keyframing. Alright, now it's time to do some cool stuff, more visual effects and things you'll be able to use to help your video editing. So you want to go to Effects at the top of the page, or the software, and you're going to find Keying. And what you're looking for is Key Light 1.2. Now this is the green screen removal plugin, or the effect rather. And now you want to click the little dropper and click the green or the color, if it's a blue screen, black screen that you're trying to remove, and it will simply remove all of that color and within a range of that color. Now there's a couple things I'm going to show you they don't really show you with it just from looking at the surface value of it. But what you're going to want to do is when you're green screening, or trying to remove the green screen rather, you're going to want to find a good spot where the effect or the video is in motion, and that is going to be your basis for the green screen removal, in the sense of the mask around it and the feathering, which is the softness or the tapering of the opacity of the mask. So what you're going to want to mess with is the screen grain under the Doppler in the lime green little box under the effect tablet for Key Light 1.2. And now as you see, as I adjust it, as I add more, it's going to make it purple at the bottom. And when I reduce it, it's going to keep it gray, or more the green rather, that is trying to be removed or stay from the removal process itself. So there's a happy medium and equilibrium you're going to find, and it's different for every situation and every clip that you do. It's not going to be a simple save it as an animation preset and be able to drag and drop it every time. Now if you're using the same setup, this might work as a preset, but other than that, you're really going to want to dial it in yourself for every situation and every scene. Now you're not really going to have to worry about screen balance that much, and if you ever mess up an effect, you don't remember the default value, you can right click the number that you are altering and hit reset. And now bias is actually, as it sounds, being biased to a color that it's going to allow through the key light color removal. As you can see, I pick orange, and it's going to purple, or things that when you mix these colors with the removed background green or lime green, what it's going to create is the bias from the mixed colors. Alright? And screen blur is pretty much the feather, like I was talking earlier, or the blur around the edges of the mask itself in the green screen removal. Now that you have your video file or layer green screened, what you're going to want to do is probably add a couple effects to it, right? So I'm going to pick a random effect through here. There's so many of them, sometimes I forget, but I have looked through every single one of these effects and dialed in and tried at least every single one of these. I like this cartoon one. It's really cool to get different style of animation with your 3D models and such. So as you can see instantly, it kind of makes it posturized or more flat and duotoned or tritoned rather than the actual lighting of the said gravel or object that is being manipulated from the light. And as you can see, as I mess with these settings, it's really about just dragging all the way to the maximum of the spectrum and all the way to the other side of the spectrum and figuring out what each knob does, and that will allow you to dial in your effects specifically not to what you think people want, but what you want and what you see as your personal vision and your dream to create and inspire others to find their individuality through After Effects and other Adobe programs and softwares as such that not only myself but many creators use as a foundational tool or platform to even create the things they see and I see in my head. And now as you can see here all day dialing in one single effect, which I'm not going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward or clip it right here and continue on to the next tutorial or basics that is good to know in After Effects and that you can implement in Premiere Pro and other editing softwares as well. So the next basic I'm going to teach you in After Effects is how to reverse a clip and also duplicate. So to duplicate a clip, you select the layer you want to duplicate and simply hit Ctrl plus D as in dog. Now to reverse the clip, or get the clip exactly where it needs to be, you can either zoom in by holding Alt and using the mouse wheel in and out to get zoomed in and out to desired sizing or scaling of the layers, and then you can really get digital with it. Now to reverse the layer, all you go is right click the clip, go to time, and then reverse time mapping, or reverse time layer. And as you can see, simple as that, it is reversed. If you have it lined up like I do, one clip directly after the next with the reverse, it will reverse and loop perfectly for you. And now what I'm going to do is duplicate this clip by doing Control D as in dog. And as you can see, I use the bracket tool next to P as in Peter on the keyboard to bring that selected clip right to where on the timeline my marker was, which is the end of the first clip. As you can see, I'm doing it once again in order to show you the ease and where to press just in case you missed it the first time. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you need to reverse, back up, pause these videos at any time. Do not be afraid. That is learning. And don't be afraid to learn. And now what I'm going to show you is if you mess up or somehow the composition changes, you can switch it at any time in the composition setting up at the top of the menu. And then going to composition settings, as you can see, this is exactly the menu when you created the file and the composition to start the timeline in the video sequences. Okay, so this can be changed. This is good for changing the duration, because if you have a longer clip and it's longer than the timeline at the time, you can go ahead and switch that. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to get a still frame for possible masking transitions or cool music video transitions or effects that you may see where they freeze it and then affect the photo and then it swooshes off of the screen or something. So find the desired place where you on the layer or the video file in the timeline in which you want to get the still capture of. Next is how to save the still frame. And what you want to do is go up to Composition, Save Frame As, File. As you're going to see at the bottom, when you go to label it or name the file, it's going to say a PSD or Photoshop file. Don't worry about this, it's going to get switched. As you see, it's going to switch to render queue. And if you don't know how to get back to the composition, right here is the render queue and the composition. If you have several compositions, they will show up in succeeding order. And now you're going to want to go under the output and make sure all these settings are the same as the composition. Except where it says Photoshop sequencer, you want to change it to PNG sequence. Now you might think that this isn't going to work, and it's going to, if you know PNG sequences, it's going to export a whole bunch of PNG files or photos to make a video. But because it's just a still frame, it's only going to capture that one frame you want to capture. And that's what's so cool about this still frame, to be able to make cool transitions for music videos and such. And then go ahead and hit render at the right of the screen of the software there. There you have it. It's instant. It's one frame. It's going to save to where you output it. And now you can click back into the composition, and keeping where the time marker is, where you got the still frame, go find the file location of that said still frame and drag and drop it into the timeline. As you can see, it's going to be the exact still frame and transparent background. And now Control-Shift-D to cut out the beginning and the part that you don't need or want to show before it actually becomes a still frame rather than a motion picture. And then usually after the end of the composition or the timeline length in which I'm trying to render, which is the little blue tab to the right blue tab, I like to cut the clip just in case I have to composite it, which will allow me to have the composition or composited file shorter than the whole entire timeline length.